It is very possible that some of the healthy foods you're eating may be having a bigger effect on your blood sugar than you realize. What are these foods? Well, stay tuned because we're going to be covering them today. Also, eating too much processed sugar. I'm Jane, and I'm here with Stephanie, and we're the Nourishing Gurus. We help women over 50 stop yo-yo dieting in a healthy, sustainable way and feel good in their bodies again. If you haven't seen our video yet on why it's so important to pay attention to your blood sugar, even if you're not a diabetic, definitely go back and give that a listen. We'll link in the description below. But for now, we wanted to talk about 8 surprising foods that may spike your blood sugar and some simple tweaks you can make so that you can still eat and enjoy them. Okay, number 1 is oatmeal. Don't get the wrong idea. We often include oatmeal in almost all our programs, but if you don't eat them the right way, they can absolutely have a blood sugar spiking effect. So this surprises a lot of our clients because oats, again, they're a really nice source of fiber. They contain a lot of B vitamins. They have some magnesium and other great vitamins and minerals. But first of all, heavily processed or instant varieties tend to break down really quickly. And then many of them are also flavored and contain a lot of added sweeteners. So this is going to lead to a sharp rise in blood sugar. Even rolled oats, which are less processed than quick cooking oats, or steel cut oats, which are the least processed form, can also raise your blood sugar if you eat too much quantity, and especially if it's not balanced with fat or protein. So if you love your oats like we do, our suggestion is to go ideally for the steel cut variety, or the second choice would be rolled oats, but just keep your portions minimal. We suggest no more than 1/4 cup to 1/3 of a cup per serving, with steel cut oats being on the lower side because they expand so much more. Make it a team player. So rather than the headliner being just oats, you want to combine other balancing foods that are going to contain protein and fat from things like ground flax, almond butter, chia seeds, hemp seeds, pumpkin seeds, or some walnut. Also, a tablespoon of protein powder can be added to more blood sugar balance and to keep you full. If you do tend to eat instant oatmeal due to the convenience, try making a big batch of oats ahead of time using the rolled or steel cut oats, and then heat up the leftovers and then add your add-ins to do the balance so that you're not having to make it every day. We also love swapping out oatmeal for a warm chia pudding, and we will link to some chia recipes below. Second up for our surprising blood sugar spiking food would be cereal. So this might be obvious, but it's important to watch out for brands that look or sound healthy. So many women that we meet are fooled by phrases like whole grain, and most of these are heavily processed and are almost always going to spike blood sugars. So we're just going to highlight a couple. So we're going to start with Smart Start. Smart Start has 18 grams of added sugar from 5 different sugar sources. Keep in mind that 1 teaspoon is 4 grams of sugar. So that's over 4 teaspoons of sugar in 1 serving. But the label tries to sound really healthy. It says, oh, original antioxidants. Well, what does original antioxidants mean? It doesn't even make sense. And then they talk about how high in protein it is, but then they mention that the higher protein comes from if you're adding milk to it. So that's also a bit deceiving. Then we have Cheerios. So many people we know love their Cheerios. They're low fat, they're low cholesterol, but if you think instant oats are processed, these are even more processed. So they're ground to a powder, and then they puff them up, and they make them into O shapes. They lose most of their nutrients, but the most important thing is that the cereal is lacking in protein and fat. And if you add skim milk, which most people do, thinking that's a better choice, you're gonna raise your sugars even more. So there's a few decent cereals out there we like. We tend to gravitate towards something like 3 Wishes or a brand called Love Grown. They have no added sugar in the plain versions, and they use a healthier sugar alternative like monk fruit or erythritol for the flavored varieties. Even if you are choosing these healthier cereals, they're still a little processed. You want to round them out with some fiber and protein from nuts or seeds. Berries will up the nutrition and give you more nutrients and fiber as well. Another idea is to make your own granola. We'll link to ours in the description below, or buy some lower sugar granola at the store. And we have tried the grain-free granola from Trader Joe's mixed with unsweetened plant-based milk, and that's pretty satisfying. So give those a try.
All right, moving on to number 3 is fruit. Okay, so first off, we love our fruit. However, many fruits are really high in sugar and can produce blood sugar spikes. So although the whole fruit is certainly better than juice, but we want to just mention it here because, for example, grapes have 15 to 20 grams of sugar per cup. And many people just find that they raise their glucose levels pretty sharply. Other fruits that are high in sugar include bananas, mango, cherries. So we just want to increase awareness. But another thing that comes up often is canned fruit. So really beware of canned fruit because that's often sitting in the syrup and it is super sweet. We also don't love canned food because of the aluminum in the cans. I just want to mention that, not related to blood sugar. Also, dried fruit does have some health benefits. Personally, I love the taste of dried fruit, but it does have some minerals like iron and phytonutrients. And did you know that prunes are actually really good for your bones? However, to dry fruit, the water is removed and it leaves it much more concentrated in sugar. All right, so what can you do? Well, when possible, go for the lowest sugar fruits. Berries have the least amount of sugar, and we also like apples, pears, nectarines, peaches, and melons, which have a little bit more sugar than berries, but still are on the lower side. However, we want to mention this. Don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. There is so much benefits to fruits, so many phytonutrients and antioxidants in fruits. So just because a fruit is a little bit higher in sugar doesn't mean you shouldn't ever eat it. So if you're eating these higher sugar fruits, just opt for smaller portions and pair them with, if possible, a fat or a protein like a handful of nuts. And we are not, as I mentioned before, a fan of canned fruit. So if you're looking for something just to store, it's better to go with the frozen version, and we love our frozen fruit. As far as dried fruit, we do suggest cutting it out or at least limiting it for now if you have blood sugar or weight issues. If you're going to have some, make sure to limit it to 1 to 2 tablespoons or just a couple pieces, and make sure you aren't eating some that have added sugar. All right, now let's move on, and this is a similar idea, but talking about smoothies and acai bowls. So the issue with smoothies and acai bowls is that if you're getting it out at a store like a juice place or one of these chains, most of these places add a lot of sugar to make them taste good. So in general, acai berries are not sweet at all. So to make them taste better, they have to have something added to it. So a lot of these places will add sugar to it. So for example, Jamba Juice has the Acai Primo Bowl, which has 65 grams of sugar, which is a crazy amount of sugar to have at one time. Now, keep in mind, this is certainly a combination of fruits, and it also has honey in it, and we have nothing against fruit or honey, but overall, at one time, this is just too high. So the way to make it better is by making your own. Yay! You can use unsweetened acai packs. You can get them at Trader Joe's or at a lot of the health food stores, and to make it sweeter, you can add a small frozen banana or mango and add a scoop of clean protein powder that is sweetened with something like stevia or monk fruit. And this will give you the protein that you need to keep you feeling full and also help you balance your blood sugars. So another tip would be to toss some flax in there or maybe a few walnuts, and that will round out the smoothie with a little bit more fiber and fat. We're going to link to, we have a recipe for an acai bowl that we love, and it contains a lot of the things I mentioned here. So be sure to check that out in the description below. All right, number 5 is sushi. So it's not the actual raw fish that we're concerned about as far as blood sugar is concerned, but sticky white rice that comes with sushi a lot of times is refined and high in starch, which quickly turns to sugar in the bloodstream. And also, did you know that a lot of times they add sugar to sushi rice? Crazy, right? So also, you gotta watch out for the sauces because a lot of times soy sauces have sugar added to it to make it sweeter. So be careful about that hidden sugar. And just to backtrack for a second about rice, while we're mentioning it, brown rice can also spike your blood sugar. So just keep that in mind and you want to limit it. So as an alternative, order sashimi with no rice and don't drown it in the sauce. You know, you can ask for your sauce on the side and then just dip a small amount. Or now we're starting to see cauliflower rice come with sushi. And that's awesome because it's starting to appear more in restaurants, and it just makes it easier for you to eat more. So that's awesome. We're starting to see that at the restaurants now. And also, if you're making it at home, it's just super easy to make the cauliflower rice. So when eating rice in general, we suggest sticking to no more than a half cup at a time, and be sure to combine it with protein and lots of non-starchy veggies.
All right, so next up is whole grain bread, and watch out for the wraps too. So whole grain bread sounds super healthy, and if you listen to the commercials or you read some of the labels on the breads, they really tout how important it is to get all these whole grains and all this fiber. But not only can they have unhealthy ingredients hidden in the bread, but they also can contain a lot of sugar. So even healthy bread like Dave's Killer Bread, which is really popular, and we do like this brand better than some other brands because they use real food ingredients, but many of their breads can contain up to 5 grams of sugar per slice. So if you check out the label, you can see that it carries a lot more sugar than most people realize. They do have one version, their Power Seed version, which only has 1 gram of added sugar. So if you're going to choose this bread, that's the one you want to go for. Again, most of the other commercial breads like Arnold's and Wonder, no matter how many times it says whole grain, 100%, it's going to be very processed and can easily raise blood sugars. We also like Ezekiel bread or other sprouted grain breads, which tend to have no added sugar and a decent amount of fiber. So just be sure to check the label to be absolutely sure. You can also look into bread alternatives like chickpea or almond flour wraps, or cauliflower or broccoli thins from a company called Outer Isle, and we'll link to that in the description. Okay, next up for surprising foods that may raise your blood sugar is milk and yogurt. So as a leftover from the low-fat craze of the 90s, it's still so popular to have low-fat or skim milk, and many people don't realize how much this can raise blood sugars. So what happens with skim milk is the fat is taken out, but the milk sugar is still there. So without the fat to slow down the sugar spike, you can see this raising blood sugar levels. So we see women all the time eating a really low-fat cold cereal paired with a skim milk, and that just makes blood sugars soar. The effect of different dairy sources on glucose levels does seem to vary according to the food's protein and fat content. So here are just a few tips for how to choose your dairy. Better choices would be things like yogurt, kefir, cheese, and other fermented dairy products, which seem to have a better effect on the blood sugar, but you're looking always for unsweetened versions and also the whole milk version, or at the minimum at 2%. Do not use fat-free. And then note that some research studies have found a connection between blood sugar issues and dairy intake in some women. So if you're a big yogurt and cheese eater, even some of the fermented ones or some of the healthier versions, it might be worth cutting back if you're having a lot of servings. So just an FYI, and we will definitely keep you posted on the research as it comes out.
And finally, the last food that's not good for blood sugar is, well, not really a food because it's not real, but artificial sweeteners. And we see this so often. Women want to lower their sugar intake, so instead of sugar, they use these artificial sweeteners. So research shows that artificial sweeteners can also greatly affect our gut microbiome. We talk about this a lot. And there are links between bacteria composition in our gut and insulin resistance and diabetes. In one study, mice were fed saccharin, sucralose, or aspartame for 11 weeks, and they showed changes in the bacteria in their gut and also elevated blood sugar. So stick with something natural such as raw honey, real maple syrup, or molasses, but just have much less. And your taste buds will change over time, so if you just slowly decrease it, you will get used to having less. So our rule is no more than 1 teaspoon per serving, or switch to a natural sweetener that won't affect your blood sugar, such as stevia, monk fruit, or yacon syrup, which is extracted from the roots of the yacon plant in South America. So in summary, keeping a watch on those blood sugar spiking foods will do wonders for your weight, your mood, and your overall health. So we want to hear from you. Do you typically eat the foods that we mentioned today? No worries, now that you have our fixes for them. So we love helping women over 50 balance their blood sugar, lose weight, and feel great in our Simply Nourished transformational program. It's not another diet that will leave you feeling deprived and wondering what to do next, but a holistic habit and lifestyle changing program. We open up a few spots each month in this transformational program, so reach out to us in the Simply Nourished link below and see if we have spaces and if it's a good fit for you. As always, we'd appreciate it if you like, subscribe, and hit the bell so you will be notified of all our future content with more support for women over 50, and be sure to check out our next video.